What is happening, Nerd Squad, and welcome back to Top 10 Nerd. We're back with another part 2. Last time you saw us, we were breaking down 10 superheroes who were beaten by Carnage. And it comes to no surprise that he's done it 10 more times, hence why we're here. It's a part 2. So here to keep the Carnage train rolling, I'm Taylor McWaters, and here are the top 10 most powerful superheroes who lost to Carnage, part 2. Kicking off the list at number 10, we have Ben Reilly. Created by Peter Parker's DNA, Ben Reilly is a Spider-Man clone created by the Jackal. He first appeared in The Amazing Spider-Man issue 149. Issue 410 shows us a much different version of Ben though. Carnage makes his way to this underground club. It's pretty fun, it's jazzy, everybody's dressed like a supervillain, so naturally everybody loves Carnage. They're like, wow, cool outfit, love the claws, very realistic, we love it. Ben and Carnage fight it out, they throw each other through walls, all that good stuff, but when Ben gets too close, the symbiote decides to move over to the sticky side. Number 9. Scarlet Spider. During minimum Carnage, Cletus Kasady had returned to try and steal something from a NASA research center, but Scarlet Spider Kane Parker was there to save the day. He hasn't seen Carnage in years, but now he is ready. Mid-monologue, Kane leaps over and breaks Carnage's neck. He just turns it all the way around, just a 180. Bad times. Now of course this does absolutely nothing as Carnage turns his head right back and freaks out Kane, rightfully so, and then he stabs him with one of his tendrils. Carnage escapes using a Prometheus pit with Kane swearing that he's going to kill Carnage for what he's done. Are you sure about that, Kane? He kinda just got stabbed with a tendril, so I don't know. And before we continue on with this list, if you want to go ahead and give us a thumbs up on the video, it does help us quite a bit. You're awesome. Thank you so much for your support. Now, before wasting any more time, let's get right back into this list. Number 8, Gwen Stacy. She first appeared in Ultimate Spider-Man 14. She's the daughter of Captain John Stacy, and her and Peter get close when Gwen straight up pulls a knife on a classmate who was bullying Parker. She's pretty wild in the Ultimates, as are most of our characters. She's pretty conflicted as well. I mean, her mother ran off with this random dude. She feels totally depressed because of it, and would stop by Peter's house to talk, vent, talk things out. Her father died when he was killed by a burglar dressed as Spider-Man, so she lives with Peter and May now. It actually causes Peter and MJ to break up temporarily. It's kind of a little romantic rift. A little bit of a love triangle, a lot of drama going on in that household. Very Big Brother vibes. But she learned eventually that Peter was Spider-Man, and she was upset, but she understood, even making peace with MJ along the way. So things are going fine. And after all that pain and agony and stress, later that night, after telling MJ not to worry about them, she was then killed by Carnage, who was looking for Peter. Peter felt bad here, obviously, because he had allowed Connors to use his genetic material to experiment on in the first place. If you know Peter Parker, you're pretty much doomed, so if you see anyone doing any of this, just don't be friends with them. Number 7, Iron Man. Carnage 2010 issue 1 kicks off with Tony getting flipped off at a medical supply expo by Michael Hall. He's showing off a prosthetic arm that is controlled by a chip in his mind, so he's having an annoying start to the night, you could say that. But then he sees Doppelganger chasing an armored truck and sedan. This guy never gets a break. Okay, cut to issue 3, he faces an even crazier webbed monster. So Spider-Man volunteers to go after Carnage first, claiming that he at least knows the symbiote, but on the other hand, Tony is literally a walking tank. So Carnage grows wings and flies off. He doesn't even swing yet. But then he finds a window and attacks Carnage, and in the final issue, he pulls out the big guns, literally pulls out everything he has. Even with the added ammunition, Iron Man is getting slammed down over and over and over again. His suit is at 35% integrity, even tipping him off that catastrophic failure is imminent. Well, you can't win this time with words, Tony. You just need more guns, apparently. Number 6, Gwenom. King in Black Gwenom vs. Carnage. We meet Earth 65's version of Mary Jane, much more of a redhead this time around, you could say. Gwen met MJ in grade 6. They made a band called the Mary Janes, and sometimes Gwen had to skip jam sessions to go and fight the lizard. So MJ felt sad. She felt like her best friend was bailing on this dream of being a famous band and touring the world. Their friendship is really put to the test when Null took over MJ and was named after the last Psycho, Carnage. She was made into a literal monster, and her only goal was to get the symbiote from Gwen and then take it back for Null to study. Carnage is great this time around. I mean, MJ turns an electric guitar into a battle axe. It's fun. The action looks beautiful. I could watch these two fight for hours. Things take a turn when Gwen comes face to face with Null himself. Carnage continues to overpower Gwenom, even leaving unscathed. Gwen and Carnage meet up once again, but it's at Madison Square Garden this time around, because Carnage is now making her own band. It takes a rock off in order order to free MJ, but the first couple of fights here easily go to MJ's Carnage. Number 5, Scorn. Scorn first appeared in Carnage issue 5. Michael Hall used the symbiote, combined it with technology, so now you can create and control limbs, like the guy I mentioned earlier. Sounds pretty remarkable. Amputees had a solution now, which is awesome, but the solution was the Carnage symbiote in a way, so of course it all went south. The symbiote escaped its containment cell and bonded to Tanis Neves and used her to rescue Cletus Kasady. But that symbiote was taken from Shriek, so when Knives was close to Shriek, she reached out and a new symbiote was born. Hashtag Scorn. Scorn linked up with the Mercury team in Carnage USA to stop Carnage from taking over a town in Colorado. I mentioned that story in part 1 of this list. But in Web of Venom, Carnage Born, Scorn and its host became a cult leader, dedicating their time to retrieving the corpse of Cletus Kasady, who the cult viewed as Null's prophet or whatever. Scorn resurrected Carnage with a sample of the symbiote, and as soon as he arrived, Scorn was, well, he was no longer needed at that point, which is sad, but that's the harsh reality of it. That's why you don't become a villain, guys. It's just, you're gonna get used. Number 4, Agent Anti-Venom. Go Down Swinging was written by Dan Slott. It's a 4-part storyline that kicks off with Norman Osborn finding a new power. Yeah, he finds the Carnage symbiote, well, steals it rather, from an abandoned S.H.I.E.L.D. warehouse, and when it bonds with Norman, the agenda of course changes. Now he's the Red Goblin, and now he wants to do nothing else but kill. So Flash Thompson, Anti-Venom, rescues J. Jonah Jameson from being kidnapped, and when Peter goes head to head with the Goblin, he wins. Yeah, surprisingly, he even says some last words as well. He thanks Peter for pushing him this entire time, being the drive that he needed, because a man is only as good as his enemies. Okay, interesting, Peter won, this is great. We can start clapping, I think, yeah? Peter says he wished he could have saved Norman, and then he starts to laugh. Yeah, Norman starts to laugh, his blood starts to move around as well. This is all just a lie, it's all a bit. Red Goblin is born. Basically, you got Carnage now with pumpkin bombs. It's pretty messy and terrifying. Anti-Venom was forced to save his friends or kill the Goblin, so he died a hero. His suit was barely attached anymore at that point, but Flash still stuck by Peter's side until the last moment. Number 3, Miles Morales. In Absolute Carnage, Eddie and Dylan are trying to lay low, but Carnage, pushing them in front of a train, changes that vibe up real quick. Carnage is literally seconds away from ending Brock, but that third rail held him off just a touch longer. Eddie knows at this point that Carnage is still alive, that electric shock therapy didn't really do much, but they used that time to get out of there instead of asking questions. Fair. While catching up with Spider-Man trying to think of a plan here, the news show this massive gravesite that was just discovered. So Carnage is trying to find everybody who once was a host for the symbiote in order to obtain their codices. Now this Carnage cult was responsible for the mass graves, and in the next issue, Carnage now has this dark army with him, this horde. He's much more powerful than ever, living in the spire underneath the streets of New York. So comfortable. His rent's probably so high. When Carnage is about to take over the Scorpion, Miles jumps in to save the day, punching Carnage's head right off of his body for a moment, and then he goes and then comes back, but it's still cool. But a moment is all he gets in this fight, as the next page we see Miles fall under Dark Carnage's control. Number 2, Wolverine. In Spider-Man and X-Men issue 3, we see Wolverine go toe-to-toe with Carnage. It's a nice fun 90s crossover. Wolverine is still rocking the bone claws, which is cool, until, you know, Carnage eats them. Carnage likes the taste. I mean, to be fair, it's probably good for you, it's probably healthy. Pages later, Wolverine strikes again, and it's a fun time because Carnage is like, what the hell? I thought I literally just ate those things on your hand. What's going on? Well, Carnage, you now have an unlimited snack. Just keep Logan around and you're all set. And finally, number 1, Captain America and Co. During the Maximum Carnage event in part 11 out of 14, other superheroes team up to try and stop this maniac. We've heard about him just annihilating people for 2 lists now, so yeah, it takes a lot to come in. Captain America, Firestar, Iron Fist, and Deathlock all head to New York City. They're fighting Doppelganger, Shriek, it's pretty amazing. Even Cloak and Dagger get in on this plan in Maximum Carnage. It's a huge event. Everybody ends up losing to Carnage and his gang though, it's wild. So the fighting is more so left to Venom and Spider-Man, but we have to mention the rest of these guys, especially to close out a part 2. They did a lot of the heavy lifting, and they got punched in the face quite a bit during this whole story. I think at the end of the day, we just need to avoid Cletus Kasady in any form, in any story. I'll say that. Guys, thank you so much for sticking around, but before you head out, drop us some suggestions down below. Which other characters or storylines, whatever, what do you want to hear in the future? Comment down below and we'll try and get to all of them. Keep those notifications on because one of those lists might just pop up in the near future. I don't know. I've been your host, Taylor McWaters. Keep being you, and we'll see you next time on Top 10 Nerd. Deuces.